welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and it's my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we are going back a couple of years to review The Swarm that was released in 1977.
It released was 1978.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad, guys.
July.
Okay,
It was cold winter.
1978.
It's a whole
Better.
hot summer's day. No.
So, anyway, this one is another one of those sci-fi type... Well, not sci-fi. It's more of a nature horror, I think. This is
Natural horror. Which goes into like nature coming back and biting us in the bum. How's that?
Yeah, a little bit like Frogs.
Yeah, Frogs is a good one. Yeah,
or Food of the Gods.
Empire of the Ants. You know, that sort of stuff.
You know, them, whatever. And this is
yeah.
made by none other than... What's his name?
It's my bit.
Oh, sorry.
You're going to take over my... Always does that. Michael, who's doing this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Okay, produced by Irwin Allen and directed by Irwin Allen. Now, Irwin Allen, he's a guy who did Towering Inferno.
Land of the Giants.
Land of the Giants, yeah, and I'm talking movies.
Yeah.
Did he do Poseidon?
Yeah.
I think he did Poseidon Adventure. And he also did the TV shows like Land of the Giants and some of the other ones such as that.
Like Lost in Space.
Yeah.
What's that one that's another submarine-related movie?
Voyage of the Sea.
Yeah, that's it.
So he's been around. He did TV and films.
Yeah. He's a big movie guy, and I like the fact that he does experiment with his movies and TV shows.
A little bit. But actually, getting back to his TV shows, when he did it, he had to make them on a budget, and on a very limited budget, might I add, and he did pretty good of what he had. I think he got let down by production, the TV stations or the production companies who are actually funding him and says, "Oh no, we don't want to do this anymore. See you later, bye."
Yeah. He did the Time Tunnel. I think
he did all this.
Well,
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and when he couldn't complete, as we said in the past, he has never completed his TV series
because they're going really, really good. Like, take Lost in Space. That was good. I used to watch it really religiously as a child, and all my friends did, and other kids around the world did. And what happened is the Robinsons are still lost in space because they didn't renew the
contracts.
Didn't renew the contract for another season, and so it just dropped off the planet.
The same I could say for Land of the Giants. They never went back home.
Never got home again.
And the same I could say for Time Tunnel, which they end up making a bit of for the final episode, they try to take it back to the first episode.
It's not like a time loop. The end of it started off as the beginning where they end up on Titanic again. Whoops. Yeah, okay. Maybe it's a good way. They're running out of money. So, okay, let's just make a time loop and leave it there.
And what happened to the one with the submarine you mentioned, Mike? What happened with that one?
Voyage of the Sea just did a natural thing and just, it didn't need a closure, but just their many adventures. So they didn't have to go home. They were home. They're going home. They're doing whatever. Playing with the dog, going out in the submarine, doing something. Yeah.
Oh, so they didn't get lost in the bottom of the ocean or anything like that?
Taking care of problems and stuff, and sea creatures and nuclear fission problems and other things, a bit of terrorist activity, whatever they can throw into the storyline, and alien type stuff was coming into it, and they got involved in that. But each one was a separate sort of story, so that wasn't as bad as the other ones.
Yeah, of course he did the Tower Inferno one.
One of our favourite movies, might
I add. And. So let's get into the cast of Faust.
And all the other good groovy stuff.
So, Michael, you go into it.
Well, what can I say about the cast?
Except the cast
Everyone's
of Faust.
in it. No.
Including a lot of bees.
No. 100,000. I don't know who they... The casting for the bees alone would have taken ages. Buzzy Bee, come here. No, okay, here we go. Hey, buzz off. Okay. Now, here we go. There's lots of really good names a lot of you guys are going to know from the past. Okay, here we go. Get a cup of coffee ready. There's a long list. Okay. Michael Caine plays Dr. Bradford Crane. Catherine Ross plays Helena Anderson. Richard Widmark plays General Thaddeus Slater. Richard Chamberlain gets a mention here as Dr. Hubbard. Olivia de Havilland plays Maureen Schuster. Ben Johnson plays Felix Austin. Lee Grant plays Anne McGregor. Jose Ferrer plays Dr. Andrews. Patty Duke Aston plays Rita Bard. Slim Pickens gets in there as well. Nice country lad.
Yeah, only a small role.
This
tiny
okay. He just plays Judd Hawkins. Bradford Dillman, he's in there as Major Baker. Fred McMurray. Actually, I think it was Fred's last movie. Fred McMurray plays Clarence Tuttle. Henry Fonda's in there as Dr. Walter Krim. Well, Krim, that's a guy's name. Cameron Mitchell, whoever he is, plays General Thompson. Christian Duttner plays Paul Durant. Morgan Paul plays Dr. Newman. Alejandro Ray plays Dr. Martinez. And Don Barry plays Pete Harris. Now, the last couple, I don't know who they are, but I thought I'd just mention them in passing. So yeah.
Well, so you guys know, Allen is well known for Irwin Allen is well known for making movies where he includes the top of the range of actors for his movies.
Yeah, a bit like the airport movies. They always threw a lot of good actors, like I can't remember Dean Martin, the first one, some other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen. Well, not Charlie Sheen, sorry, I was thinking of someone else.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, but he got these well-known actors.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
George
say past.
Kennedy.
George Kennedy was in a lot of them. And they bunged them in there, and they pulled the people into the theatre. How's that? Yeah,
well, it puts bums on seats,
it certainly does.
Which is very difficult at this point.
Good seasoned actors can usually handle an average to good script quite easily. So anyway, now my problem with this, budget-wise and box office, this movie came out about the same time as Star Wars and some other good groovy movies. So hence, everybody went to see the other movies. Okay, so the budget was about 11 mil or more. It says 11 million or 21 million. I don't know how to get that. Let's say 11 million or 12 million. And the box office only about 7. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that any major problem because it would have got some home cinema stuff in your videos and shit and crap. But technically, it was a box office flop. I think really it just is a matter of timing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fast-paced movie. It wasn't an action-type movie. Star Wars, in that regard, would have peed all over it.
I'll let you guys decide. If you had to choose between The Swarm and Star Wars, the original,
I would have gone Star Wars.
Would you go for Star Wars or would you go for this?
Yeah, I would have. Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would too, considering when I first saw Star Wars, and this was many years ago, I was a little kid, I was taken back by the story and the plot and the fact it really blew my mind. And I imagine that's probably what the people were thinking in 1977, because this would have blown the Swarm out of the water, right, Mike?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said. So this would have gotten a lot of attention when you think about this movie.
I'll hear it.
Attention about that movie. What's that, Mike?
Let's go through here. Now, I was trying to find out what other movies came out at the same time.
But I could be wrong about the month. It could have come out a different month, for all I know. I don't know.
It was, but it was made at the same time, and that pulled people out of the cinemas, so, which was a bit of a pain. No, I can't find it.
Because this one does seem, I mean, I know I like new movies so often, guys, and ever so often when a new movie comes out and it draws the attention, then it might be steering you in a new direction or new hemisphere. While this one, if it was at the same time when Star Wars came out, it would have thought, Swarm, they're redoing the same thing over and over, just using cheap graphics to lure us in. When you think about it,
graphics aren't cheap. Okay.
I know, but when I was looking at the graphics, the giant bee, come on, people,
it was just lame. It's technology for that time. Okay,
it was too much like
superimposed. I know.
The superimposing makes me think of the
They're supposed to be hallucinating.
Teenagers from outer space.
No, don't insult.
Where
Don't insult
they
Rowan Allen.
used giant lobsters, superimposed onto that footage,
And you could see through
you
it
could
blinded,
see that they didn't look like they
You could
were
see
meant to
through
be
it.
like that.
It was pretty bad.
Anyway, so
I can't think of anything else to say at the moment. Like I said, Rowan Allen produced and directed. The screenplay was by Sterling Silverfant, and I think he did the screenplay for Towering Inferno as well.
oh, that's cool.
Based on a book called The Swarm, which is written a 1974 book, novel, if you will, by Arthur Herzog. Anyway,
Is that everything?
Can't think of anything else. You might as well get into it, and
Might as
we'll have
well.
a chat about things later.
Yeah, so the story begins where a bunch of military guys head to a compound that's underground, where they find their people either unconscious or dead.
I think they're dead.
And some of them are tried to confine themselves in another room, and they find let me see, what's his name? Dr. Bradley Ford, I think his name is, who is among them, and they think he may have a finger in what's just happened. Of course, they confiscate all his they confiscate all his gear from his truck, his sunflower seeds, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And he does tell them that to confirm who he is with his colleague in Washington, I think it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they eventually discover they do eventually meet Helena, I think her name was, the local scientist in the underground, who is looking after a couple of the soldiers there.
She was in another part of the compound which they didn't get attacked by the bees, and they stuck through the air conditioning ducts or something or other
about
to
the
get around. Yeah.
bees came down the thing and killed some of the men, and some of them are still conscious because of the massive. They've been infected.
Some weren't quite dead. They were just highly poisoned by the toxins or poisons and the bee stings and whatever.
Yeah, they confirm Bradford's identity, and the guy in charge, the general or whoever is next in line up from the generals, told him, "You are in charge of what's going to happen." So he's in charge of a sort of mutated version of bees.
It's supposed to be a mutated version of an African bee, the African killer bee, that has somehow migrated to America through maybe some cyclonic winds or something or other.
Something about maybe tornadoes or whatever. Strong winds blew some of the bees across from wherever they came from to over here. And,
over to America,
yeah. And up until now, they have been, been quiet, but now they've started attacking in full force. So,
I wonder how much honey they could make.
Good point. Anyway, they're highly dangerous. Like say, either 5 bee stings could kill you.
I think that's about 2 or 3 bee stings is enough to kill a healthy person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meanwhile, while this is happening, a boy named Paul and his parents are having a picnic in the park. Well, then they get attacked by some bees.
Who are also having a picnic in the park.
And they start, smelling their lunch, and they start attacking. And, of course, I think they got angry at the woman using the bug spray.
Bit of fly spray? How rude. And
the little boy, he gets a few sting bites, but he eventually gets away. And he goes drives to the nearest town. I think it's called Maryville, would you say?
I think it's Maryville, yeah.
Yeah, and they're having a special flower festival, whatever they call it.
And bees just love honey.
Anyway, the boy runs there, and of course he's acting hysterical, and no one... he's just hysterical because you can't calm him down or anything like that because he sees a very big bee in front of his eyes. Don't know how.
He's hallucinating.
Anyway, so
sniffing glue again.
Yeah, the other experts that Bradford brought all over, the guy from Washington and another one who's a bee expert, tried to examine the situation while the one of them examines the possible of a vaccination against the bees, obviously,
Yep.
while the other one tries to find a good way of a soundproof way to kill the bees without damaging
Anybody
the
else.
ecosystem or any other species.
The dilemma they had was, if they put a massive poisoning around where these bees were, it could interfere with all the local bees, which would affect the production of all the harvest, and they wouldn't flower, and the people would in America, and probably other people relying on America's exports, would go hungry because the food wouldn't, they wouldn't be flowering, it wouldn't be fertilised. So a lot of things would not grow without the bee colony, the local bees, but they who would also get killed off at the same time as the mean bees.
Yeah, the general thinks the best way is to spray the whole area and hopefully that will get rid of any bees and any bees of our area.
And then the associated friends that take care of the ants, the bees, the mosquitoes, the butterflies, the ladybirds, the caterpillars, any other bugs got in the way, all been dead.
He doesn't think
the microsystem, what do you call it?
He doesn't think this thing through, but luckily Bradford tells him, puts him in his place because he's in charge. Bradford's in
from the scientific side of it.
From the scientific side, so he has final say about what they're going to do. So anyway, they do eventually go to they inform the town of Maryville and they in turn make sure they prepare their siren that has not been prepared for a while to inform the public of the bee situation. Which is very relevant to the story. Anyway, the boy who that survived the bee incident, he actually goes out with his friends and they make some
Molotov cocktails to throw at the bee nest. So, get you little buggers.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
You sent them into a swarm and they headed towards the town, didn't they? What a clever little boy he was.
Yes. The boy and his friends, they hide under garbage bins and not realizing the danger, they just put the town over next door, obviously. So the bees start attacking citizens, and everyone tries to get to undercover or at least away from the bee situation.
But these bees are smart. They'll get in through the air conditioners. They'll get through little cracks under the doors or whatever. They're really smart bees.
Of course, our scientist guy, he works it out that they won't go into cold areas a fridge or anything.
He did work it out. Bees don't like cold air, so if it's cold air, they prefer the warm air.
Mm-hmm. Of course, lots of people are heavily, got bee stung or whatever. Others got killed, and the general figures that they need to evacuate the citizens in Maryville now. So they arranged some buses, and of course, one of the people there. She kind of goes into labor. She's pregnant, very pregnant.
Well, very.
And she is also the wife to one of the soldiers who probably died, I think. I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah. She'd rather be at work, I think. He said, and then,
yeah.
That's the same person, yeah, I think.
Also, a doctor has a thing for her.
No.
Well, he did.
He was sucking up to her and flirting with her because to make her feel good and relaxed.
Yeah, but it was interesting when she says that, when she remarks to him that it's true that that patients fall in love with their doctor. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Let's get on with it. We've got
Who
nothing
knows?
to do with the story whatsoever.
I know.
Okay?
Most of the stuff, the short segments in this are not really instrumental in this movie, therefore it's not important. The boy Paul, who was responsible for the bees attacking the town, he dies.
So he has a relapse.
He has a relapse and dies, and his cousin, or not, I don't think his sister, but by the sounds of it, she knew him. Maybe they were cousins. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's her nephew or cousin or something. Yeah, something like that.
So he dies, and she's grieving over him.
Boo-hoo.
And also, all the other survivors that made it on the bus have gone to a train heading towards whatever. But we don't know the bees have followed and started wreaking havoc on the train.
It did.
And then it topples over, and booms.
No, the bees attack the train.
Yeah, the bees attack the train, but it's the train itself. Cars tumble and boom.
Roll down the hill and everyone dies.
Well, not everybody. They said 17 have survived and may have gotten
everybody
injured.
but 17 died. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, and the dog was okay too. They're happy now?
Funny.
Okay,
Ha, ha, ha.
fine.
Anyway, we don't see them again. Not important.
Well, those three main people are the school teacher lady,
The mayor and
the other
another
guy
guy.
there had a bit of love triangle. They died in the train wreck.
We don't even know if they died or not.
They died in the train wreck.
Anyway,
We saw them being thrown at windows and crushed by seats and stuff.
Well, so did everyone else.
I got a Band-Aid and I feel better now.
I don't know. Everyone else got threw it around and stuff like that, in a funny way. So anyway, so they realize where the direction of the swarm is, and so you guys know what is happening with the vaccination thingy wing. The doctor in charge, he tries it on himself and he dies.
Whoops.
Whoops, indeed. Instead of getting some volunteers, willing volunteers, I might add. Unfortunately, now I should mention the other doctor, who's played by Richard Chamberlain.
Yeah, Chamberlain, yeah.
He is actually going to a power plant whom he thinks that the bees are going to head in that general
and
direction.
he wanted to tell them, warn them and tell them don't use any sirens or anything, because they figured out at this point, and that the frequency of the...
No, they still think that they're in the dark about it. They just think...
Okay.
They tried
They
to
just want to close them down.
Evacuate
close the power plant down.
power plant.
We supply power to so many hundreds of thousands of people, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you won't be doing too much if everyone dies. So
Anyway, the bees stung, and then I don't know how it happened, but the power plant blows up.
Yeah, the bees get in and something goes wrong. Yeah, well, yeah, the bees get in and attack everybody. People fall on the controls and it sets everything off. Didn't you see them writhing in pain on the control panels?
Yeah.
Aha.
So we're left with fewer people left.
Tiger
and
syndrome.
They go to... What's Hubbard?
Huh?
What's the next... They found out the bees are heading towards Houston. And they evacuate the area, I think. And they head to the main office where the general, who's now taking over from the scientist guy, because he figured they tried it his way.
Washington's decided to put it in the general's hands because the scientists weren't having any success.
Yeah. See,
however, the general was hoping they would. But now he's got it back and he's going to do it his way.
Yeah, see, they tried the pellets,
Some sort of poison pellet
things.
But and the bees ignored it, saying, we know better than you do, guys.
Yeah. And
they're smart bees.
Yeah, so they think they'll just spray them with pesticides and hopefully kill them. Of course, the scientist says, if you do this, you may kill other things too.
And they still did it. The bees went straight through it. They had immunity to it because they're really smart bees.
Yeah, they're immune to any kind of poisons or pesticides or whatever comes to mind. So the bees start attacking the area, and this is where the scientist works it out that these bees are attracted to the weird buzzing sounds from the alarm systems.
I'll try to explain this a bit
Mike.
better now.
You can say it now.
Now, the queen bee resonates a sound or a vibration, a particular frequency for mating or scaring off another female who want to take a role, whatever. Anyway, the scientists figure out the frequency of the alarm sirens is very similar to this vibration that the queen bee puts out. So if they can make that sound in the right area, they can draw the bees to that sound and get them in one area and destroy them. I think that covers it.
That covers it.
Take it away, Grizzly.
So they think that using those sounds, they could probably take the bees away from the cities and then destroy them that way.
So they dump them into
the
ocean?
So they quickly... The general and his second and another scientist, they couldn't make it. They ended up being stung and died. And both the scientist and his love interest, Helen, they quickly get to the place they need to go to. They inform everyone they need to get the sirens out to a out in the ocean so they can then use the
they
missiles
they
to
drop
blow
these
them up.
little siren things out on little raft type thingies, so out in the middle of the ocean.
Using an
like,
oil
like
slick.
about a mile out, kilometre out, whatever.
And pouring
It's just
oil on the
I poured
water.
oil on the ocean. It was pretty flat. Could have been the bay sort of area, I don't know. And got all the bees were attracted to this noise, and then what happened?
Well, once the bees are out of range from everything, they then use
in the water area.
Yeah, they then use missiles to
Bomb the
bomb
area
the
and set fire to the oil slick, which in effect burns all the bees.
Anyway, then Helen turns to him and says, "Is it over? Like, have we won the battle, or is it the war that we haven't won yet?" He says he's not sure, but he says hopes that that people will prepare themselves in the future for an outcome. And then we fade out, and there we get the usual thanks to the army guys who help us in this project.
And no bees were hurt.
No bees were hurt. Anyway, that's the swarm. And I gotta admit, though, I thought it was not too bad. I like it that Michael Caine did a good job playing a scientist. Although I continue to wonder to myself that his backstory into why he was there. I know he said that he just happened to be there because he was following these bees and stuff like that. But I just wish there was a bit more, more stuff to mold around his story a bit more. Like maybe he had a hand in those bees being there. I don't know. I mean, it would make for an interesting story, I guess, to find out how he knew about these mutated bees and how all that stuff, right, Mike?
He's a very clever little Vegemite.
It's just that sort of thing is why so many people often question or re-question. Even the general in this movie was questioning how come this guy knows so much about these bees and how he knew that they were going to... And why did he somehow appear on that base when it was not... It's supposed to be a secure base.
He was following him, and the gates, there's no one there to challenge him. He just walked in. He said that.
Yeah, he did.
There was no one there.
Yeah.
He went in, the bees had been there, the bees had gone, and he found all these dead bodies.
Yeah.
He'd been tracking these bees.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Anyway, I did think it was interesting, and of course I didn't like how the general and his second were acting.
They were suspicious of his being there. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's not important.
Yeah. All the good stuff.
Time for the good stuff, guys.
What can I say? The critics didn't like it.
Duh.
No, because there's a few reasons. Because it depends on the tone of the movies coming out at that period in time. It didn't get the juices rolling. No. It didn't get the interest.
I suppose.
You get things like Star Wars and other big things there, a lot bit of action in it and everything else, a better special effects and yada, yada, yada. And that's where the thing is.
Yeah, there's a lot of competitives out there.
Too much competition. But they didn't like it, and they all got in the same bandwagon. So, blah, blah, when you have to compare it to Star Wars and something else, and yada. Well, grow up. Yeah, but that's where the problem is. And also, I read something here while Sarah was talking. One of the guys said, he suggested the commercial failure of this movie was partly due to the fact that prior to its release, several American television movies with similar plots had been broadcast.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that would kill it.
That would definitely kill it.
That would sunk the boat.
Yeah, it would probably get people the impression that, oh, you must have copied so-and-so's idea.
Yeah, I've seen that, done that, not interested, yeah.
After all, movies like that deal with bees or flies or anything that deals with a swarm of things that could get you.
But natural disasters. Oh, here's another one. So
go on, give us another one.
And then that's the whole problem. It wasn't original enough to make it. Yeah, I think it sort of covers the problem.
That's probably it, Mike. Considering.
But and actually, Star Wars supposedly was made for less money.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I don't know. They gave us 2 figures for the budget, so.
Well, just remember, it was an experimental film project, and
experimental.
And at the time that they were using for the spacecrafts and stuff like that. At the time, they were using toy. toy aircrafts and stuff, and trying to make them look realistic.
I don't know, using toy aircraft. A lot of stuff is actually models and stuff, and some stock footage and other things. The train going around the mountain there that was rolled over.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't look close, it would have been fine. But I looked pretty close. It looked like a toy to me, only because it was going a bit too fast.
Yeah.
It looked like a real train, and it was done. The filming was done properly, but the train would not be going at that speed through the mountains on a windy track.
Yeah.
It'd be going a tad slower.
Yeah.
Whereas a kid's train set would be going a tad faster.
I mean, comparing it to the Star Wars stuff, the special effects, like the spaceships flying, would be more believable than the train flipping over on its tracks.
Well, but that's natural sort of stuff. That's if they got out of control, it'd roll down a hill and burst into flames and people would die.
No doubt.
That's what a train wreck is. And a train wreck is not a movie, it's a train wreck.
And this is probably what the reviewers said.
And probably said, I was going to say, some of the reviewers probably thought this movie was a train wreck. Funny.
Funny.
Ah, right. Here's a bit of information. Now, I can't get my head around this. Estimates of the number of bees used in the production range from 15 million to 22 million, including 800,000 bees with their stingers removed to enable the cast to work with them safely. About 100 people were employed in the production to care for and transport the bees during the film shoot. Olivia de Havilland was stung by a bee while filming. Oh, we'll get over it. Fred McMurray retired from acting after completing this film.
No surprise that someone would get stung.
Yeah, but the point is, you think about it. Up to 22 million bees have been collected, and 800,000 of them had the stings taken off them. Who the freaking hell can get their head around 800,000 bees had the stings removed?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You're missing a point.
Missed one.
How do you hold them still while you're ripping the stingers out without hurting them?
Ouch.
And secondly, I heard that once a bee has its stinger removed, they normally die soon thereafter.
Oh.
Okay, now you got it. So that's interesting.
So, but how
they don't grow a new spear, they just die.
That would be strange.
Yeah, Barbie, yeah. So, yeah.
What then?
I don't know. More, please. No.
It would have been interesting if there was a bee or a well-known bee that doesn't require stingers.
I think there are some stingless bees. I'm not sure. But there might be a smaller variety or whatever. I don't know. But
and maybe they just made the excuse up so that people, the cast and crew, could be able to feel relaxed around these bees and try not to freak out them.
They had to. Didn't want people in some. Yeah, what's the word? Your uncle Jared. He's a beekeeper. Funny, strange habit for a guy who loses the bee stings. He got stung by a bee, just one sting, and put him in hospital.
That's bad.
So imagine that. I've been stung by bees and wasps, it doesn't hurt me. Yeah, I get, that hurts. But if you get half a dozen bee stings, or a swarm of wasps gets you or something, depending how much toxins are in there, you could die. They give you a heart attack or something. Something's going to give out.
Got it.
And it's like a spider bite. It won't necessarily kill you, but depending on what your other health issues are. Yeah.
Right.
So you got to be very careful when you're dealing with little pesky creatures like bees and spiders and stuff. Make sure no one gets bitten or stung. Anyway, we've gone through the critique rubbish. No one liked it. The funny part is.
What's that?
Accolades. I saw this. I said, what? An accolade, that's something positive.
Okay, give us a positive.
Despite its large negative reception and box office failure, it was nominated for the Academy Award for the Best Costume Design.
Best Costume Design?
What? Bees were wearing the clothes were... Everyone was just wearing normal clothes.
Yeah, most of it was casual.
The army was wearing army clothes.
Well, maybe that's what they meant, Mike.
No, but
considering
the
that
whole
they were wearing very
I
flammy,
mean,
nice.
they weren't wearing anything.
Suits.
They were wearing normal army suits, normal army combat gear. The ordinary people were wearing ordinary clothes. Oh, the son of the scientists wore dust coats over the clothes to stop them being something getting dirty. I'm going, costume design? What? I was trying to figure out where. Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Strange. Things you read. Oh, here's another piece of.
Let's see.
There were several cuts to this.
Okay, go
there
ahead.
There was a longer cut, and they shortened it down for home release.
Okay.
And I think it's been re-released with the found footage and put it back into it. I don't know. So I think the VHS or something, or maybe the DVDs, or maybe both, may be able to get the longer version of it. But anyway, that matters not.
Did they say what scene they cut?
No, they just took it. It was just too long.
Oh.
But the version we watched went for over 2 hours, so I think we got the long version.
That explains a lot, considering the fact it was the longest
Yeah.
movie I've ever seen in my life.
I could have gone down the road, got some petrol, got some takeaway, come back. I wouldn't have missed anything.
I mean, most of the stuff was all, padding.
Oh, it's not padding. It's just they tried to copy the novel, but they put too much into it. That's all.
Yeah.
Now,
Like, who cares about a love triangle when they actually got killed at the end?
it did. So it didn't actually add to the story. Anyway, here we go. Sarah mentioned about the end credits. The ending credits to the film included a disclaimer that read, "The African killer bee portrayed in this film bears absolutely no relationship to the industrious, hard-working American honeybee, to which we are indebted for pollinating vital crops that feed our nation." That actually came out during the movie. Now, according to an article in HR, whatever that is, published on February the 24th, 1978, the American Bee Association considered taking legal action against the film's producers for defaming the Western honeybee.
Oh,
but whether the lawsuit was ever filed or not is unknown. Oh, get over it. It's a friggin' bloody movie.
you're going to find that...
And I'm talking about the African bees, not the immigrants, the ones without visas. Those ones.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about this movie. They kept calling them Africans.
No, they were African bees.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to say? Fred the bee?
I don't know, just call them like they were.
What, bees?
Bees.
The Africans. African bees. Oh, the African bee with the 6 legs. Oh, they've got 5, we got broken leg. And, no, the African bees. It's a shortening.
And anyway, it's
called a contraction.
It seems very weird. It's like you often said in the past, Mike, when you cannot please everyone in a movie anywhere. You're gonna always have someone angry or displeased about a movie, and they won't show it because you kind of said something offensive or did something offensive, or it shows in the movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Even though this is what the point of this movie, it's mostly about a swarm of bees that attack a bunch of people.
And how we survived this time. Aha.
Yes. I don't know what their problem is. I mean, if you didn't have the swarm in there, we would not have a story.
Exactly. And actually, I was talking to Sarah about this the other night when we watched this. I'm not sure. I've got to go and revisit it. But I think the first X-Files TV program...
Okay.
The pilot or one of the early ones covered a bee swarm. Aha! See, they bees. They got their own. It's not just ants and praying mantises and spiders and stuff.
Yeah.
The bees are getting fairly represented. No.
Well, I mean, considering the fact, it would be nice to bring back some of those ideas, like where. You're fighting against an unknown force of creature that's out there. They're not aliens or anything. They're just ordinary creatures that live on this earth for many years, like humans.
And they've gone through mutation, or like in frogs, they didn't actually mutate. They just lots of them just gang together, all the frogs and the snakes and everybody else. And we're going to take revenge on the human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be nice. Yeah. It would be nice if they did more one day do a movie like that using whatever species of creature.
But here's something. Think about it.
I mean, they've already done sharks for gosh knows how many
and
times.
they've done but Sharknado. That was crappy, wasn't
And
it,
they've
guys?
done crocodiles. They've done anaconda type snakes. I mean,
that's just one of.
It would be nice if they actually did something that looks that's.
But you look at one-offs. Well, you look at a thing like Them.
Yeah.
That was mutated ants, which are grown about the size of a large car or a small bus. Yeah, they were really good. Now, for its time, that was a really scary movie. I said, whoa.
Yeah,
really
I seem to recall you showed that to my niece and nephew, you moron.
They're only 6 and 7, yeah. 6 and 8.
Yeah.
They were cute. The big
Yeah,
ants.
and then they didn't, whenever we talk about the ants, Mike mentioned, they don't want to watch the movie.
Oh,
What's that tell you,
Them's
folks?
a good movie. That doesn't sound like good English. Them's a good movie. No,
Well, now
Them is a good
every
movie.
time we do mention them, they say
But-
don't want to watch it. Even though they keep pestering us for watch a
They
horror
won't want
movie.
to see a horror movie and say, them don't watch that one. How about
If I-
Dead Silence with the mannequins? No,
And if I showed them Stephen
King's.
King's, they'll probably want me
They'll never
to
go to a
change the
circus
channel.
again. Yeah,
They will have different opinions about clowns. Like so many
I
kids
hate
out there
clowns.
would often have fear of clowns. Before.
I have a fear of clowns. You know why? I took your sister to the circus when she was 6 years old, and I thought this would be really good. Let's get in the front row so she can see everything. And then the clown came out. He was looking for a bunny to drag into his show. And guess who he picked? Me. I was in the ring with the clown. And he made a total fool of me. And if I had my time again, I would have been sitting in the back row. So I would not have gone. It was fun for everybody else except for yours truly. And ever since then, I have despised the clowns. And I also hate gnomes. Gnomes are not my friends. Okay?
Hey, don't knock the gnome.
Well, the gnomes, I don't like gnomes. Anyway, I don't. Someone said, you scared of them? No, I just don't like them in gardens. It might work in a cottage garden, but the average contemporary home, there's no room to have a gnome in an ordinary contemporary garden.
That probably explains why your garden doesn't have a gnome.
And I don't have any fake swans standing there. Neither do I have a small Aboriginal statue.
Or a flamingo.
Or flamingos.
Or a duck in the backyard.
Or anything else. Or a gecko stuck on the wall. Oh, Mum's got geckos at the back. Metal geckos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in other words, guys, we don't believe the whole gnome concept.
Gnomes. Go home, gnomes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if it was up to me, if I wanted anything in my backyard, I would pick something that's out of the ordinary or something extraordinary. That not many people often have in their backyard.
A UFO.
Yeah, maybe.
That's out of the ordinary. Now,
Yeah. Anyway,
where do you get it?
Where can we get this
Where
movie?
can we get it? Okay.
guys?
eBay, there are plenty for sale, new and used. Amazon, you can rent it, and it's for sale as well.
Right.
Now, when I talk about old movies, I have a good look when I'm doing this. Watch out for VHS tapes and Laserdiscs because they're still for sale out there.
Yeah,
okay?
folks.
So be careful when you're picking your product.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest with this movie, it's not a bad movie. I like the movie. It's
I like
not
it too.
great. It's not a bad movie, but for you guys who are not real sure, just rent the bloody thing for Amazon Prime or somewhere or some other streaming service you might find on. I'm a diehard. It's in my collection now. But yeah.
Yeah, well, as I said before, I was looking at this the other day, online, and thought maybe it'll make a good, movie to review. Considering we like Irwin Allen's work.
Irwin Allen. I liked his TV shows.
Me too.
Series. But when he did things like Towering Inferno and Poseidon Adventure, I was just blown away. He really made you feel like you're in there.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of the guy.
That's...
Hitchcock had his style about being the master of mystery and suspense and whatever.
And he's the master of adventure and excitement.
But this one's a bit slower
fantasy.
pace. But you look at something like Towering Inferno. That was a combination of two stories: the Glass Tower and something else.
Glass Tower and the...
I can't remember now.
I don't know. Can't remember the name.
And that made a really fine movie. And It was believable and scary. Natural disaster type thing, a fire in a building.
I wonder.
Yeah,
I
great.
mean, I looked it up online that his movie profile or filmography is, I mean, apart from the TV series he did, he didn't do very many movies.
He did several movies.
He did several movies, but then I don't know what happened afterwards, whether he died or something.
But when he had ones like this not making any money, I think he got out of business maybe, or slow things down a bit, or maybe his style was becoming archaic.
Because George and the John Carpenters and
Steven Spielberg's
and Wes Craven's were going to take over eventually.
But you got a guy like Roger Corman. Now he was a creature of his time. And George Romero
and Ridley
Scott.
Scott is going to
These guys have made their own types of movies, and it gets to a stage where you outgrow the industry outgrows you. It changes, and if you don't change with it,
yes.
Like Roger Corman, he did the Edgar Allan Poe bit. That was to me that was his peak. Roger Corman, and he had Vincent Price and some Peter Lorre and other guys. Really good films, great. I love them. So I still watch them now. The problem is he got out of that and he said, "Oh, I'll start doing teenage horror."
And you know what happened next?
And to me, that was probably the worst thing he could ever done.
Right.
Of course, he might have got some kids who went to the drive-in and said, it's really, really good, but they weren't the same quality.
No.
Not to me anyway. So I think he tried to follow the industry, but I think he went in a slightly wrong direction.
Yeah.
But
don't follow the Joneses.
No.
Be your own person.
Yeah. Be a groundbreaker, don't be a follower. And Roger Corman became a follower, and he paled into insignificance. And see, Romero did the same thing. He did some good stuff, but the industry took over went a bit further, and he was making the cheap and nasty sort of horror movies, which were great, don't get me wrong. William Castle was left behind a bit, I think. All these people didn't change and grow with the industry, which is sad because they contributed so much to it. Yeah. Anyway, respect. That's just my
expertise.
That's my bit on these old guys, and who I love dearly. I think the industry would not be what it is today without your Romeros and your Cormans and your Castles and all these other people back there who were doing it and doing their stuff back then, and it was new. Yeah. Yeah, now and everyone copied them, say we can do that, or we can do a bit better than that.
Yeah. Another thing, guys, I should mention that James Cameron, people thought he was going to do a film on the Titan sub. But it turns out it's just a false rumor.
It's fake news. It's a rumor. No, Sarah's been checking out on it, and it appears that someone's putting a rumor around it. He's going to make it. Yeah. Now, I was going to say though, if anyone was going to make it, he would probably be the ideal guy because he's used to doing underwater work.
Yeah, and not to mention
and he did the Titanic one, the race in the Titanic one.
And he did not the race. No,
what's the one where he did the thing before that? The Titanic movie. He did that documentary thingy. The other guys.
He called them the Ghosts of the Abyss. That came after the Titanic.
But he did that one.
movie.
He did that one. He went down the submarine thingy and did the filming.
Yeah.
So he'd be good at it.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to do it.
No, I don't think so. It's the wrong timing. I know
it's very topical.
I know Mike had told me in the past where people would often strike hard to try to make a good movie, but it's the wrong time because most of these people whose parents
maybe next year.
Most of the people who are grieving over the loss of their relatives probably want to take a moment of mourning,
take a breath,
and try to get their lives back in order again. Yeah, and that might take it could take months or even a year.
But I reckon if they're going to make a movie, they will probably make it next year.
Yeah, maybe.
You don't do it. You don't wait 2 or 4 or 5 or 6, 7 or 8 years to do it. You do it while it's still in everyone's mind. And so I reckon probably next year someone, and I reckon he should do it because he's good underwater work and he's been in many subs.
He's also a good knowledge of sea.
Yeah, he's got the skill to do it properly and do it justice.
Yeah, he also knows the guy, or he kind of knew him along with the other submarine guys who know of stock, lack of business sense.
Yeah, and I think don't go there.
Yeah, there was even an article I was reading where someone was making out that he was a hero for going against government policy and safety, which I thought was a stupid thing. I cannot compare him to Captain Smith or Thomas Andrews or the guys who were on the Titanic who tried to help the people on the Titanic try to save them. Yeah. That I cannot see him in that seat ever. He's
not a hero. He's a guy who sunk the boat.
He's not a hero. He's the one who sunk the boat with him on it and survivors. And he did it for money, nothing more.
Yeah. So, anyway, can we leave that alone now?
Sorry, guys.
Otherwise...
I can't help it because I've all been hearing about these past couple of weeks is about this and how some people are trying to turn it around, trying to make out he's a hero when I don't think he's a hero.
We didn't... leave alone?
Sorry. All right.
You're going to open a can of worms here.
Okay, that's about it from us, guys. So check out The Swarm. Mike has told you where you can find it.
Yeah, like I said, eBay, plenty for sale, new and used. Amazon, rent and for sale. Watch out for VHS tapes and Laserdiscs if you're looking. But I would suggest, those of you that aren't sure, just rent it.
Yeah, anyway, so check it out and let us know in the comments.
Do we give it points?
Oh, yeah, we did. I should rate it now, guys.
He talks too much. 8.
I'm going to rate it 8 out of 10 myself, too. I mean, I guess at the time, if when it comes to, probably the wrong timing, I'm not sure which year which month each movie came out.
It doesn't matter, but the point still remains is he had a lot of competition. Which took it away from us. And if there was some telly movies being made similar, or TV series, it would have gone. It would have gone against him in the marketing.
Dealing with either whatever bugs that kind of caused the swarm to go under beats me. Anyway, it's just like the Dracula movie that we've discussed ever so often. The
one was made in America and it came out at the same time as the Hammer one came out or something. Yeah, it was Dracula.
It was just called Dracula.
Yeah, Dracula. That letterer, I can't remember his first. Like he's a letterer guy. I can't remember his first name, and he played a good Dracula. It was done in America, and he came over as a pretty convincing role. But it wasn't a great movie. It wasn't a bad movie. But it just dropped off the planet because of Hammer's one was so much better.
Considering that Christopher Lee did an awesome acting role.
He doesn't do a bad Dracula or anything else. He's a good actor,
Yeah, so be sure to check out The Swarm, guys, and let us know in the comments what you guys think of it. And I'll ask you guys the question again. Which would you prefer, The Swarm or Star Wars, the original?
Star Wars.
So I'll leave those questions up to you guys and let me know in the comments what you guys think. So this is Sarah Stephenson
and Michael
saying see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. Bye for now.